"2020 candidates move to the left as climate change emerges as campaign issue." Washington government. Jay Inslee. The United States and the world stand at a crossroads unlike any we have encountered before, Inslee said in a statement on Wednesday. Within the next decade, he detailed his policy during a speech at the Council on Foreign Relations in New York, on World Environment Day, UN, timed close to the anniversary of pulling America out of the Paris Climate Accord. Climate change is emerging as one of the 2020 cycle's most pressing issues. This weekend a recent of young people, ages 18 to 29, found a substantial 14-point increase from the same poll they conducted in 2015 in those who said they believed government. Inslee, supported by a number of other 2020 presidential contenders, pushed for the Democratic National Committee to dedicate one of its presidential primary debates to the issue of climate change completely, and he even wrote a letter to the DNC chairman Tom Perez urging the party to ensure. While this decision comes as a flashpoint amongst the Democratic field and amid a furious push from progressives and environmentalists, as well as strong support across the Democratic spectrum, for climate change to be front and center in the minds of voters and on the debate stage. Inslee squarely targeted President Trump for his cowardly. "This is the defining challenge of our time. If anyone thinks of..." Inslee's latest rollout came on the heels of S. first climate policy rollout on Tuesday, during which he called for a clean the most progressive wings of the Democratic Party when it comes to climate change. "You chief among them, Inslee, you have voiced criticism for what they view as Biden's middle-of-the-road stance. I have to express disappointment that the vice president's proposals really lack teeth. They lack the ambition that is necessary to defeat the climate crisis," Inslee said, reacting to Biden's rollout, contrasting Biden's plan with his own. "My plan puts up stop signs, and I am afraid the vice president's plan does not. He has some wishes." It's not the first time Inslee has called out Biden for what he sees as a middle-of-the-road stance on climate. When Inslee unveiled the second leg of his climate plan in mid-May, he named Biden directly, saying that he needed to step. The latest portion of Inslee's plan rests on 5 tenets, meant to flow from the domestic examples that the U.S. would set under his administration, detailed in his first 2 portions of his proposal. This latest phase, it rejects the notion of freedom gas as put forth by the Trump administration, promoting U.S. fossil fuels abroad as well as forging more collaboration with sustainable land use, ocean conservation, and clean air, addressing the fluidity of what knows no border lines, water, and the air we breathe. Inslee also emphasizes studying the impact and treating the cause of climate migration, including pledging to increase the number of refugees resettled by the U.S. including enforced. Other candidates' plans also echo the need for America to reassume responsibility on the world stage, rejoining the Paris Accord, as well as investing in clean energy infrastructures. Former Vice President Biden also addresses environmental justice, holding polluters, like fossil fuel companies, to account for environmental damage. He has vowed to reject. As climate weighs more heavily as an issue in the 2020 campaign, it likewise becomes more fraught, an ideological tug-of-war, putting pressure on politicians to ante up a cohesive policy. More progressive note: experts agree that plans from Inslee and O'Rourke are significant motivators for more middling candidates who don't want to get left standing out as the lone conservative. "I think we're seeing a lot of one-upmanship across the span of candidates with climate," Dana R. Fisher, a professor whose work centers on understanding the relationship between environmentalism and democracy, most recently studying activism and American climate politics. "This is the first time that climate is legitimately going to be an issue on the campaign end. Candidates are now starting to realize that it may, in fact, be a voting issue. I think we're about to..."
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.